What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're here to talk about the UFC card going down this weekend. 14 fights with an early start time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, going down in Jacksonville, Florida. Nice to be joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Doing great. Hot off was at an awesome wedding this past weekend. Parlayed it into a long weekend, so I'm super recharged, ready for summer, which started yesterday. For those who are not in tap with the solstice and all those kinds of things. Obviously that Gemini season, no relation ends right before. But yeah, I'm feeling great. I didn't get to watch the event in full last week, but I did see a few fights. They were all bangers. I would give that fight card overall probably like a 9 out of 10. Honestly, it was awesome, and yeah, it went pretty well for you though, right? Just about as good as a fight night card could go, wouldn't you say?
It did. It did. It went very well. It was 5.6 units track for me.
Ooh,
Biggest card win ever, just slightly etched out a few weeks later. The units be going up and shit. um
mm,
bet bet six underdogs on the money line. Four of them came through.
ooh, nice.
And got lucky with some props though. Saruki and KO and the GTD in the main event. I got a little lucky. Got to recognize when I got lucky. But yeah, it was a very good event. I agree. It was, from an entertainment perspective, very good as well. Officiating, the judges, the fucking referees, bro, man, we're fucked. I mean, guys, we are fucked because the officiating in this sport is down bad. We're gonna need some massive overhauls of this shit. But yeah, it was a real good card. My boy Armin Petrosian came through in the heated
Mm,
debate in the co-main event, or
lot of leg kicks. A lot of leg kicks
amazing.
there.
Way more strikes over the full 15 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I re-listened to that segment after the fight got over, and I got a little bit of a chub on just re-listening to how incredibly accurate I was in that discussion, and how foolish you sounded at times. That was really satisfying.
What was I thinking picking the Brit against the fucking Russian? Or
Yeah,
the Armenian,
Armenian.
whatever he
Yeah,
is. Yeah, but he hangs out the Russian.
he does.
Idiotic move. And yeah, it was just dumb. But yeah, that was a great bet by you. Obviously, plus money cash for you there. I didn't really get involved in it. Like I said, it was a big wedding this weekend. But I want to just spotlight from the best division in the sport to the best bet in sports, the best sweat in sports. And that's when you have the goals the distance. And it doesn't need to be the main event, but if it's in the main event, 5 rounder, even better. And these guys are fucking wailing on each other. And you're just like, sometimes it's the biggest bet you have of the night. And you just can't take it. Like you feel every punch that Marvin Vittori is getting hit with, and you're just rooting for him to be able to just like shoot a takedown or something like that, and you just clenching so tightly the whole time. So for people that bet the unders and just complain and whine and cry, dude, there was not one knockdown in that fight. So it's which is the best part. When you're betting the ghost distance, you're like, no, don't go down, don't go down, clinch, do something. But these people that bet the unders, dude, they don't know what they're missing, man. Become a overs guy, become a goes the distance person. It's the best way to watch MMA.
It is, yeah. I mean, some ball sports, you bet the over, it means more points, it means a better game. Some people might think if you bet the under in fights, it means there's a finish and that's better. But sometimes, it's better to see the full fight and get, the full
Absolutely.
experience.
Get all
And
this
that's what happened.
data. Download all this data. Like who's the commentator that always says downloading data?
I
I
think
don't
it's
know,
Dom
but
Cruise. I think it's Dom
Dom
Cruise.
Cruise, it is Dom Cruise. You know he torrents a lot, so he downloads a lot of freaking data. So, but yeah, let's get into this week's fight because it's chock full of them.
We
So
got
we
14
we
fights.
got a lot of them.
Starting off in the premier division of the UFC, Cody Brundage taking on Dumas. And the
Oof.
odds for this one have Brundage minus 175, Dumas plus 150. Very low level fight. I mean, both these guys are atrocious. And after betting against Dumas in his last fight and knowing how badly he sucks, I could never imagine that I would be betting on him in the fight directly after that. Also, both these guys coming in the top list of worst UFC fighters of the past 3 years. You know, the discussion that's sweeping MMA Twitter. Some guy out there made a list of the worst fighters in the UFC. Both these guys are on that list. Cedricus Dumas is higher on that list, but that's why you're getting him a plus money here. I got him plus 165. Small bet, just 3/4 of a unit, because it's basically purely a fate of Cody Brundage. Brundage's last two fights, right, guys? He takes down McCall Olachechuk 10 seconds in. He still gasses out and gets finished 2 minutes later. He pieces up Rodolfo Vieira, drops him with a punch. He still gets finished in the next round. It's like no matter how good this guy's fights go early on, he still finds a way to collapse and lose. So Dumas' skill is terrible. I think the guy's a quitter. He's a bum. But the same goes for Cody Brundage. And one of these guys is near minus 200. So I'm fading Brundage with a small bet on Dumas here to start the night, get the juices flowing. Any thoughts on this bum fight between these two guys here, Ozzy?
My biggest takeaway from the Dumas fight, his first fight, which we were all over Josh Frem in that fight, big dollars on that one. It was one of the bigger bets I made this year, I think. Was that he's just so light in the ass, like he just looked weak. Josh Frem was just tossing, moving him around too easily, or very easily, I should say. And he just, he just gave up with that when he got choked. It just was a bad look overall for his brand, and him, as a fighter. And Cody Brundage, I just feel even if this fight gets extended, he probably has the better cardio training endeavor. He probably is the most reliable in the rounds 2 and 3 for technique. It would be his wrestling, getting this guy down on the ground and probably submitting him. And I just, after seeing Dumas, I just think that he has like legitimately low, like zero skill. And Brundage at least has been in the UFC for a while, but no way would I bet on him. Here, it's pure gambling. So I mean, this is an early fight. Maybe you wait to dive in on this one, but I just don't really see how Dumas is gonna approach Brundage with how the big strength difference is gonna be here and not get taken down. But Brundage is an idiot though. So
I don't get how this guy was like he was the fresher fighter versus Nick Maximov in round 3, and then lately he's just been completely collapsing at like the first sign of adversity. He's an interesting guy, Brundage is. But that'll move us along to the next fight, flyweight division. Putting this one on early for the Japanese viewers, Tatsuro Taira, undefeated prospect, taking on Rodrigues in the flyweight division. Taira's the favorite, minus 265. Rodrigues plus 225. What a fucking fight, bro! These guys, this is a great matchup. I'm excited for this one. Your turn to start it off.
yeah. This is an interesting fight. When they tangle up, it's definitely going to be exciting. I'm just interested in seeing more of Tyra, extending, the fights out a little bit here. I do think he potentially had like if they do hit the ground, like Tyra's just good at getting good angles on the mat, and attacking you in, more at just different degrees and different ways and planes than a lot of guys, right? Some people are kind of a little bit more direct, whereas he's kind of snaking his way around people, in a deliberate but unique, unorthodox fashion. But yeah, so I want to just see this fight get extended a little bit. Cleason, I think, does have some good power on the feet, good combinations, well rounded. So I think it's fair to maybe want to take him as a dog shot. But I think potentially this fight could be a live bet fight because we could see this fight definitely be competitive early, and then maybe you're able to get Tyra into a second or third round where you're hoping that, or you're looking for him to get his grappling going and be able to win a round or finish a fight that way, and he does it. But yeah, this fight should be dynamite. It should be really exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point there about the live bet because Cleedson, we saw him on bottom in round 2 versus Vergara, but he was actually the one who initiated that takedown, and then the second they hit the mat, Vergara reversed and he ends up on top. So I don't know that we've ever actually seen Cleedson taken down in his MMA career. So if he's landing some shots, defending some early takedowns, we could see Tyra drop into the minus 190 range. Get like a slight favorite, and then I mean Tyra's gas tank though, man, look really good against Candelario. I mean, he maybe had some adversity in that fight, and he battled right through it and just was battling the entire time. So I think Taira, his cardio is super legit. I think his striking is getting better, and his grappling is obviously really, really sick. So I just think that Cleveland's probably going to have to knock Taira out to win the fight. And I don't think he's going to do that. I think Taira will eventually get the fight to the floor, probably get a back take. This guy's so crafty with his back takes. And, Rodriguez, I was watching the fight against Vergara. He almost like backflipped out of a back take at one point, though, because Vergara had his back and the way he reversed it was just incredible. So this is going to have a lot of fun scrambles. It's going to be a really good fight. Taira plus 155 on sub is sort of tempting because I just think he's going to relentlessly pursue the takedowns here, and the back takes will be there. He could wrap up that sub at any moment, but I'm interested to see this one. It's a good step up for Taira here. Cleaton is a good fighter, very good striking, and I'm just interested in this one all around. So I can't wait to see this fight. And they're definitely putting it on early on the card so the Japanese viewers can watch. And that's going to bring us to the featherweight division next. And we have Jamal Emmers taking on Jack Jenkins here. We have Emmers minus 202 plus 172 on Jenkins. Both two good fighters here. I like both these guys. Jenkins, it looks like a good prospect to me, man. He is, clearly steadily improving. He lost to Medina early in his career, fought him in a rematch, destroyed him. I think his takedown defense and defensive grappling is really solid. And then on the feet, I just think he's very measured. He has a good jab. He throws a lot of leg kicks. He doesn't chase finishes. He doesn't put himself out of position much. I think he's a very methodical fighter, but it does seem like he is like a decision type of fighter. It seems like he's not interested in, pursuing finishes. He's looking at winning fights in safe fashion and efficient fashion as well. So I think that his game here is going to be looking to leg kick Emmers to negate that reach disadvantage here. And the grappling, I could see either of these guys initiating the grappling on each other, but I think they're both solid, and I don't think they're gonna get any super dominant positions on the mat. So I just see this being a close competitive fight throughout. I think it will hit the decision here, and I think I did bet on that. I have a pretty sizable bet, 1.75 units on the goes to distance here. Also have a 1 unit bet on Jenkins, just because I think this line is disrespecting Jenkins here. I mean, we were on Emmers in his last fight as a dog. Obviously, that line was wrong, but it's interesting to see that he was so undervalued against a complete fraud, a fraud prospect in Ashkabov. And now we have a legit prospect in Jenkins, who we actually have a good amount of footage on. And now Jenkins is the one getting severely underrated here at plus 180 odds here. So I like Jenkins' money line. I like this fight to go the distance. And obviously, I think Jenkins' decision at plus 330 is probably good for a bet as well, too. Any thoughts on this fight here, Ozzy? Good, really good matchup.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we talked about this one before, recording here, and this is my favorite bet, I think, of the card, and that is either the over or the goes the distance, whatever price, is best, probably, split a little bit in between the two. Because I just find it hard to see these guys finish each other. I mean, I think the biggest thing would be obviously Jenkins is a leg kick guy, right? He is at a reach disadvantage here, so he probably is in that range to throw those leg kicks even less, or less than he usually is. And Emmers overall, he just, you saw in that last fight, he was circling the cage, plenty, and that was in the small cage. And if you look at his career, he doesn't have. He's not really a round one finish kind of guy. A number of his finishes are in like later rounds, round two, round three. But they're against much lower level guys than I think Jenkins is. Jenkins' ground game, I think, is fine in terms of the submission defense. If you see, there's footage of him rolling with Craig Jones, looks pretty good there. Probably better than the other guys, definitely that Jones was going against. And Emmers, we saw against Pat Sabatini, he ain't no wizard on the mat, right? So, on the feet, I think Jenkins will be able to get respect from Emmers. Emmers will probably is going to be looking to jab, avoid leg kicks. Maybe not mix it up. We could see some clinch fighting here. So I could see it's definitely being a close fight. Obviously, I don't like Emmers. I don't think he's a smart fighter. I don't really think he does anything overwhelmingly well. So I wouldn't mind Jenkins' decision here, but I'm all over the goes the distance here. I'll be surprised to see his fight finish. But Jamal Emmers has done extraordinary things in the past, both Mostly on the bad side, maybe on the good side a few times. But he went the distance with freaking Vince Cachero, dude. So come on, let's go. Goes the distance here.
Next fight is a fight that I would be the opposite, shocked to see go the distance, and that's the lightweight division. Trevor Peek taking on Chepe Mariscal. Chepe, historically, kind of like a regional journeyman, but a good, really good fighter. I think actually fought a ton of guys, and he's finally making his way into the UFC here. I like to see it, but he is coming in on very short notice. He is moving up in weight, and the odds though are respecting him. He is the slight favorite, -115. Trevor Peek -105. A lot of action coming in on Mariscal. Uh, what do you think about this line movement, Oz? He was +150 early in the week, and now he's slightly favored. The market is all over Mary Skull here.
You know, Mariscal, he's very well known in the MMA circles, right? You look at this guy's record for absolute murderers, all right? This guy ain't scared of nobody, and that's probably how and why he's dating one of my MMA crushes, Claire Guthrie. And you don't get a girl like Claire Guthrie if you're afraid to go into the fire. And Mariscal definitely is not. So yeah, I mean the fact is though, the guy used to, he's fought at 135. A lot of his career has been at 145, but he's a kill or be killed kind of guy. A lot of times, sometimes, he gets dropped a lot. I don't know what the stats are, right? It'd be awesome if, there'd be like some AI that could watch all these fucking fights and then say, let us know just how these UFC guys, right? How many times they've been knocked down and shit. But it would definitely be a lot for Jose Mariscal. Or it'd be like, how many punches is this guy taking? It's a significant amount. But he also dishes it out. And so he should have a ground advantage here. I think on the technical side. Trevor Peek though definitely has durability advantage. I think he has like the grit, like he has just like a different kind of grit. Because I don't want to say like the Jose Mariscal is not gritty, not looking to hurt you. Get in there, mix it up. But this dude looks like he could conjure up, the dead souls of like his freaking ancestors, to make him just want to fight harder and knock out one extra guy in the bar. So he's a street fighter. So one of these guys should get finished. I don't mind taking, Trevor Peek here. But I wish Jose Mariscal a lot of luck. I think it's for me Trevor Peek or pass because the only way I would like Mariscal is if I really think grappling would play a role here. And I just think that it probably is not. So I'll go with Trevor Peek.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, and want to give a shout out to my boy Joey Coco, who's a big fan of Trevor Peek, and
I wonder why. I wonder
he's been
why.
he's been a believer. Well, this guy's got he's got the strongest neck ever, right? They measured his fucking neck.
Pause.
They've
Pause. Hey, yo. Hey,
um,
yo.
they measured his neck strength at the UFC PI, and it was the strongest they've ever measured. And so this
What
guy
the
seems like
fuck?
he's
He said,
probably
yo, he said, remember, like, like people actually remember that shit.
no, bro, that was a big talking point for my boy Joey Coco before the last fight.
Oh, shit.
But
That
I've
was
learned my
good.
lesson, bro. I've learned my lesson. I'm evolving. I bet against Trevor Peek in the last fight. Eric Gonzalez, not the guy to feed him with. And Trevor Peek got that one done. And now I'm learning my lesson. I am on Trevor Peek in this spot. I have -110, which is a little bit worse than what the odds are out there now. But yeah, just like Ozzy said, Mariscal's success here, if he's winning the fight, I think it's going to be heavily based in the grappling. If this fight stays standing, Mariscal is probably a better technical striker. But I mean, Peek is bigger. He's the much more natural 155er. The guy clearly hits hard, even though his striking technique is whack. The guy finds a way to land bombs, and when he does, guys go down. So, if Mariscal is winning, he's going to have to come out and just shoot nonstop takedowns, and he could do that. But if you watch his career, the guy kind of enjoys brawling. He kind of embraces high variance fights, and he does pretty well in them. But he does well in them against 135ers, 145ers, and I just think that Peak is a little bit going to be a little too big, a little too wild, and a little too powerful for Mary Skull here. And eventually, Mary Skull is going to get hit with something and go down. And honestly, like thinking about this more, bro, at pick 'em line, I think I might even have to add more on Peak here because I just think this guy is probably going to be getting better, right? He's been in the UFC for almost a year now. I think he's bound to show some improvements in his technique, and the guy has good intangibles: his durability, his cardio, his power, and I just think that that's probably going to lead him to the win here. And the Trevor Peak fade will come. I mean, like someone is going to be able to beat this guy, obviously, but is it going to be a regional 145er coming in on a week's notice? I don't think so. So I wish Mariscal the best. I think he will win UFC fights down at 145 after this fight, but this will be an L for him here. And that's going to move us along to another fight with a similar story of in the 125 division, Zhumagulov taking on debutant Joshua Van. Van coming in here on pretty short notice, just about 2 weeks' notice. And the odds have Zhumagulov minus 205, Van plus 175. So Van is one of the youngest fighters in the UFC. It says he's 21 years old. And this guy, he had his first amateur fight in December of 2020, 4 amateur fights and 8 pro fights in the span of 2 years. So this guy is obviously a workhorse. He's been fighting nonstop, getting better. And the guy looks like he's pretty solid. I don't think that we have a really sound idea of how good he is because his competition has been fairly mediocre. But I think just watching the guy move in there, he's technical. He has an idea of what he wants to do, and I think he probably will stick around to win some fights. But I don't know about beating Zumagulov here because Van he just looks a little too slow and methodical in there. It looks like he's not the type of guy to put on pressure or put up a high amount of strikes. He kind of takes fights as almost sparring sessions and picks his shots and finds a way to win the fight. But I don't think that that's going to work against Zhumagulov here. Zhumagulov is a little too experienced and seasoned, and I just don't see any area of the fight he has an advantage over Zhumagulov. I think Zhumagulov is the better wrestler, likely the better striker as well. But Zhumagulov historically just not a guy who wins fights super clearly. Everyone knows his history with split decisions. I think he's had 4 split decisions in the UFC. No, not quite that many, but just he's in historically close fights, even before the UFC. Majority decision, split decision. People thought he beat Paiva, but he lost that decision. People thought he beat Molina and Johnson, but he lost both of those decisions. So he's just not a guy that you can back at minus 200. So I think Zumagulov will get the job done, but I don't see any bets on the fight I like so far. What about you? Any thoughts on this short notice fight?
Man, yeah, I was honestly laughing at when you were talking about Trevor Peak and how you were like, ah, man, he's not that good, but he's getting better. And, he's got the great intangibles and things like that. And it just made me think of like how guys would describe like white quarterbacks about like why they're going to make it in the NFL. And they're like, he's not great, but the
The,
intangibles and he sees the
the
field.
playmaker,
And no, not a playmaker. They're like,
a
he's a
technician.
football guy. Yeah, no, none of that, Martian. Let me just go. And I just thought that, like, man, like Martian is really trying to advocate for the white male here. And you did it again right here, and you did it earlier for Jack Jenkins. So, but you
Zumagulov's
did it,
Asian.
whatever, dude. But so is this other guy, but this guy's obviously more Caucasian. But anyway,
True.
he's Asian, but Asian, he's your Asian. He's not
Yes.
my Asian. He's not my Asian. My Asian in this matchup is going to be Joshua Van. Does he have like another? Is there another part of his name? It's just Van.
I guess it's
Whatever.
just Van.
So yeah, I mean, I thought this guy was actually older than he looks, or older than he is. I don't know which one. He looks older, but he is older than he looks, I guess. Or not. I don't know. But anyway, the guy, I mean, pretty well put together, dude. I think he picks his opportunities, well. I don't think he's gonna be afraid of the big stage here. Zumagulov could maybe overwhelm, but his just cardio just it doesn't stay really well into that third round. And this is gonna be like his third weight cut in like 5 weeks or something like that. I don't know, but he's had like the other 2 fights were like the day of, right? They got canceled. Or like last week, right? So he's cut weight last week or the week before. Which way? How many weeks was it ago? Was it
Yeah.
last week? That
I
was
think it
last
was
week,
2
right?
I think it might have been 2 weeks ago. No,
Two
no, no,
weeks?
you're right, it
Okay.
was. It was
It
Bunez,
was
you're
last
right, it
week.
was last week.
But yeah, so it was last week. And then he was like the first week of the month or some shit like
No,
that, or
that
the
was
week,
May
May
6th.
22nd,
No,
May
May
6th,
6th. That was like 5
May
weeks ago.
6th. Okay, 5 weeks. So whatever. He's got 3 weight cuts in 5 weeks. And he's not really a small 125er, I wouldn't say. But whatever.
Good point.
I don't really think Zumagulov is a guy that is gonna dominate with the grappling. I know this guy didn't look that great grappling off his back. But in his last fight, he looked pretty good grappling offensively. He looks pretty strong to me. So I just think either it's gonna go the distance, or I think if you bet goes the distance and Van, you're gonna make money here. So basically fading Zhumagulov, the finish, Zhumagulov finish, I think. So I like going something like that, or just going with Van, or just going with the goes distance. But I think that's the way that I'm gonna attack it personally.
Yeah, looking at the lines now, I think Zumagulov ITD at like 455 to 1. Like there is a chance that this guy's just nowhere near like the league of Zumagulov and Zumagulov.
Zhumagulov is not gonna. He don't finish
Well,
nobody.
bro, Manel Cop, he was landing bombs on Cop.
He was. He could.
I
He
think
can't keep that up though, dude.
no, he can't. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's just a small chance that this is a levels fight and Zumagulov
I
dusts him. So
guess.
next fight is a banger of a women's fight, great women's fight. In the strawweight division, Tabitha Ricci taking on Jillian Robertson. Odds for this one have Ricci's slight favorite, -140, Robertson +120. Amazing fight here. Two women who can actually fight, two women that are actually very hot.
Whoa.
One of them
Are you sure?
is way hotter than the other, and that is Jillian Robertson. But it's your turn to start this one off, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have opinions on this one on both sides. I mean, Jillian, she just when she's gone down to 115, like I mean, she honestly looked pretty good. The last fight was at 115, and she did her thing. She did what she had to do there, to get the win. I do like Jillian's grappling game for MMA more than Tabitha's because I mean, the last fight against Penne was impressive. You know how she got to the armbar, but it was kind of going like the same way the other ones were going, where like the girl's in prone in guard, and Tabitha Ricci's in front of her, standing over her, and stuff like that. But Jenny Robertson doesn't really do that. She's actually a good, like little like mat, like little slimy, crafty little mat wrestler that's always looking to get up on these little single legs, use a half guard, right? Whereas Jessica Panay and Viana, they want to get the close guard and try to go for arm bars and shit like that. Jillian, so I don't think Jillian's wrong when she says like, hey, like I think my MMA grappling is better because obviously she's more accomplished. Like she's shown that she's dominated girls and submitted them, right? Whereas Tabitha Ricci, she's only submitted what's her name? Jessica. And the second round, Jessica like took herself down. So I don't know. I feel like if Jillian has a decent gas at 115, I think she could do well here. But I do think that Tabitha is a better conditioned athlete. So I think the line is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to get involved beforehand, but I do think there's probably going to be some opportunity here for a live bet because I could see if either of these girls get the takedown, them looking good, and then maybe the odds adjusting a bit too much, and then they end up on their back in the next round, right? In the grappling exchanges, they're that close where it could go from one of the girls winning and dominating to the other girl winning and dominating because they don't really get grappled that often themselves. So sometimes, it could be where their defense is not as good, or it could be where their defense is not as good as their offense. So I think it's a high variance fight. I'm gonna stay away from it, but I like the live bet angle here. What do
And
you think?
if you had to do a pick, who would you pick?
If I had to pick one of them to win the fight, I think I'd probably pick Tabitha Ricci. Um, but yeah, just
Yeah,
because I think she more longevity for her in the fight.
I see what you're saying, and like it could be like a back and forth situation where like maybe one woman gets a takedown in round one and they look like they're dominating, and then all of a sudden it completely flips. But I do think probably whoever wins this fight is gonna look like a massive favorite. I think there's it's more of a chance that this is like a dominant one side thing than it is a back and forth one. So I understand, having either side here. I think Rishi does have a little bit more like horsepower behind her. I think she has a little more aggression and just maybe physicality to her. But Robertson is way more experienced at the UFC
Way
level.
more,
Yeah,
way
and she
more.
which she's fought at 125. She's held her own, been a little undersized. Now she's at this new weight class. Did look really good, and it's kind of a similar matchup to her last opponent in whatever that woman's name was.
Piera.
Pierre, exactly. I think Pierre was slightly favored there as well when she is a heavily grappling based fighter, and Ricci is in that same kind of story. And I think I will go slightly with Jillian in this one. I don't think I'm going to end up with a bet on it, because I mean this fight could really come down to who gets the first takedown wins. But I think that if either of these women are on their back, I think I trust Jillian Robertson to be able to get up and to reverse a little bit more than I do Ricci, just because we've seen Robertson way more throughout her career in those situations. We've seen her get off a bottom while, I don't know if we ever did that for Ricci. I think, and Ricci's competition so far, guys, extremely easy. Obviously, outside of her first fight with Firo, but I mean, Oliveira we know is a complete bum. Viana is a low level fighter who laid on her back for half that fight, and Penne is like 45 years old. So this is, I think, by far the toughest test for Ricci ever since Firo. And for Robertson, I don't think that anything is going to be too different for her. She's going to have a woman trying to take her down, and I think she's going to be pretty adequately prepared for this one. So I think Robertson is the side at plus money, but this one should hit the scorecards. And I just think whoever wins is probably going to like 30-27 the other one. I don't think we're going to see a competitive fight here, actually. So,
Hot
not a whole,
take. Hot
yeah,
take.
not like
Hot
yeah.
take.
I don't have like a conviction in this. I think anyone who having like a convicted take in that one is a little foolish, because I mean either woman could get taken down and lay on bottom. So, next one is a fun men's fight that takes place in the lightweight division. We have Mateusz Raumbetsky taking on Loic-Radzhabov. And the odds for this one have Raumbetsky minus 144, Radzhabov plus 124. I don't have a good understanding of the Polish language, because I don't know where the Raumbetsky syllables come from with this guy's name, but that's how they pronounce it. So, um, this is a good fight. Both guys, experienced 17 wins. I think for Rebecki, I think this is his toughest fight of his career by far. Just looking at the names of the guys he's fought some good guys outside of the UFC with good records, but I think Loic, at the higher level, much, much more experience. Obviously, he's been in PFL for the past 4 or 5 years, fought a pretty good wide array of competition there, and he's looked good against some, bad against some, but he's largely kept all of his fights pretty close. So, I think right off the bat, I'm going to say that I don't love the laying juice on Raumbetsky here, considering this is the toughest test of his career. But I also do think Raumbetsky will get his hand raised here. I think the way it happens is Raumbetsky, he comes out with that just reckless aggression. This guy charges forward. He's
Is
almost
it
like
Rebecki or Ronjbeshki?
I'm pretty. When his last fight, they pronounced it Raumbetsky.
Okay, Raumbetsky. Okay.
He almost like is like trotting at his opponents. Like he has like this steady pressure, and he's winging overhand.
Does he remind you of Johnny Hendricks a little bit on the feet?
I think oh yeah, he does a little bit. Yeah, that's a good
He's like, I
comparison.
don't really remember Johnny.
I think I compared him to um a young Michael Chandler. Is that the guy? Is that, I
Mm.
don't know. Is it maybe that was somebody else this week? But I think
No, you
that's
said Topuria reminded you of a young
oh,
Michael
okay,
Chandler.
okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's better. That's better. But yeah, that's a good one from Hendricks, because he does have that same like southpaw, wrestling style. But Rombeski, I just think that reckless aggression style is gonna hit a wall. And I think early on, he's going to be charging out Loic with those strikes, and I think Loic's going to tie him up. We're going to see these guys wrestle in round one, and while Loic is fresh, I think he might even get the better of these wrestling exchanges. But Loic, his cardio kind of fails him later on. I know that Ribovic's fight was a little short notice for him, but that fight he was huffing and puffing late in that one, and luckily for him, Ribovics has no takedown defense, and he was able to get takedowns. But he took him down 11 times in that fight, guys, and he wasn't keeping him down. So I think the second and third round do favor Raumbetsky here. So I do probably see him hustling his way to winning a decision likely here. But also with his cardio failing and with Raumbetsky being an aggressive motherfucker, I think the round two, round three knockout props for Raumbetsky here are likely worth a stab. I saw him on Bet
Mm.
Online, 12 and 16-1. You can get the combo on FanDuel at plus 900 for a Raumbetsky KO in the second or third round. So early on, I think it'll be close. We might even see Loic win round one, but I think eventually that cardio, the pace will favor Raumbetsky here, and I think he can just work through that cardio a little bit better than Loic can. So any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm going Rebecki. I'm calling this guy Rebecki.
That's cool.
Not that it really matters. But yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting fight. Everything you said pretty valid. But I will say that what's it called? The Esteban guy that Loic fought is way better than Nick Fiore that this other dude fought.
True.
And while Loic did at times look not too good there, he got hit and stuff like that. Short notice. First, that was like the first fight of the night, I think, I believe.
Yep.
And the guy was throwing some good shots in there. I'm gonna give him credit, and he does actually have some jujitsu and was doing shit. And didn't Nick Fiore get on top of this guy in like the third round?
Second round, yeah.
Second round, yeah, second round. So I mean, I just don't like you said. I don't really like the longevity of Rebecki's offense when he's fighting someone else who is experienced as a guy like Loic. And in long fights, that being said as well. And he can stay offensive. So yeah, I think Loic he did get tired against the Esteban dude, but that was because he was fucking that dude. I mean, he was beating him up a little bit. Like he was kind of, you were using his wrestling, like he was controlling the fight. I think in this fight, in a fight that's gonna be maybe more competitive back and forth, there's gonna be times where he actually can conserve some of his gas and just be better than this guy later on in the third round. Because I do think if this fight is going the distance, which I think it's like minus like 170 or something like that to go the distance. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a little bit more. But what's it called? I think the third round could be very key in who wins this. So I actually do like the plus money side on Loic. It's not a bet that I'm like, hey, like I'm itching to make, at the plus 130 number. I think it came down a little bit, but I was hoping to be, maybe Rebecki be more like a minus 170 favorite and I could get a 150 or maybe a little bit more on Loic. But I'm gonna keep monitoring it. And I do kind of like Loic. Maybe Loic by decision, but he's got some sneaky power every now and then. And Southpaw versus Orthodox, Killcliff versus ATT. You could see Loic, counter one of these big little overhands that this dude be throwing. But I'll go with Loic. So we got another fight here. We're Oppo.
Yeah, that's good. Loic was almost on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, Ultimate Fighter.
He was, imagine that. But yeah, I those are all valid points. I mean, people, Rebecki, it's not round Bessie, whatever. It's not like he was fresh in round 2 or 3 versus Fiore, right? I mean, he was. This guy just his style seems like he's fought guys that are significantly worse than him in most of his fights, and he's powered through those wins. But he's finally getting a guy against him who is like on his same level here in Loic. So I don't
Definitely.
like the juice on Rambeski here. That's going to move us along to the welterweight division now. Randy Brown taking on Wellington Turman. Turman going down to 170 here. They have Randy Brown minus 220, Turman plus 185. Both guys coming off of losses here. And it's your turn to start this one off. Let's hear
it. It is. So we got two Northeast guys going at it, right? Turman now lives in Connecticut. Obviously, Randy Brown, New York's own. And I really want to like Randy Brown more in this fight. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, he's in a dust Turman. Reach advantage. He's gonna jab this guy up, land a punch, overhand right or something. Maybe mix in the kicks. But then I'm thinking about it, and Randy Brown himself, like you saw him get choked and knocked out and choked out by Jack Della. His chin is himself is fragile, and it's because he's gonna have the same problem that freaking Turman has right now, which is the guys probably should be at 185, both of them. I mean, I'll tell you right now, Randy Brown, like that's why his takedown offense is bad sometimes and stuff like that. Guy's depleted from these weight cuts. He cuts a lot of weight to make 170. And that's the same thing that's going to be set for Turman here. So I think Turman's going to have to obviously scoop this guy up, get a double leg, right? Similar thing to what Trinaldo, excuse me, did in his last fight, right? He kind of just powered through, try to get inside this guy's reach. And Turman can't do that, but the thing is, this guy's slow, man. He's slow footed, and he's even slow, like, I've never heard someone say this, but he's even like slow waisted, Martian. Like,
it.
when you're like bobbing, when you're like trying to bend your knees and like bob and weave and shit like that, he's just slow with that too. Like his whole like torso, like that shit just moves slow. So I think he's gonna be there for Randy Brown to just hit him up the middle, rip uppercuts, those knees, those front kicks and shit like that. So if I could bet on like BetMGM and they give you like a huge number, like front kick KO, some crazy shit like that, that would be super fun, dude. But I just think that that's gonna probably happen. But I could see this guy countering a jab, throwing an overhand right, hitting Randy Brown, getting him in the clinch, taking him down and shit. But Randy Brown, I think, should be able to piece Turman up the more likely than not. But whenever a guy's changing weight classes like this, but I don't really like. I don't really. I'm not. I mean, Turman. I did bet him against Petrovsky was his last fight,
Yeah.
and I'm just avoiding him. I'm avoiding his fights from now on. Sometimes I do well on them. Sometimes I don't do well on them. So yeah, but that's that with that. I actually bet on him in his last fight again before that, Misha Serkinov. I was bet on him again there, so
Yeah.
I'll be betting on tournament fights.
That was a sketchy one. I kind of have very little conviction here, except that I guess the line is probably about accurate. Turman, he had to go down to 170 because things aren't really working for him. I mean, just looking at his recent results or his UFC career results, I mean, lost a decision to Carl Roberson, incredible. Some went to a split with Sam Alvey just in 2021. He lost round one to Misha Serkinov before getting that armbar. So I don't think the guy is any good. He is young. He's only 26. He's training with Glover, but I haven't been seeing like any improvements out of the guy. Really, I think his striking is pretty bad, and if he can't take guys down, he's in deep trouble. Now, I think he will come out here with a pretty wrestling heavy game plan versus Brown, which is something Brown hasn't actually faced a lot of in his career. If we look at the guys he's fought a remarkable lack of wrestlers. So I think it's interesting to see how his defensive grappling here looks because we have not seen it much at all lately. Um, so I think based the fact that we have not seen him face many wrestlers, he did get stuck on bottom in all round three versus Trinaldo. I mean, the guy actually lost the battle of cardio to 43-year-old Francisco Trinaldo, a historic career lightweight in his second most recent fight. So I think based on that alone, it's probably dog or pass here. But Turman's career, him dropping down to 170, I'm not excited at all about betting him here. If anything, maybe Turman sub at like 6-1 because if he's winning the fight, he's grappling, and if he's grappling, the sub might be live. Our boy Jack Della did just sub him after knocking him down. So,
He's not my boy. Don't be saying our boy. Not my boy.
um,
I'm with Sean Brady, you traitor.
oh, that's right, that's right. I forgot about that one. Yeah, I haven't thought about that one yet. We'll get
Yeah,
there
yeah.
later.
How dare
Next
you? How dare
Next
you?
fight, we got Neil Magny, Phil Rowe sticking with the 170 division. And we have Magny favored -170, Rowe plus 145. Man, this fight just makes my head hurt, honestly. Both these guys are just kind of confusing at times. Magny has a mythical way of pulling fights back and getting guys into the clinch and winning decisions. Rowe has a way of coming back. I mean, the fact that Rowe is coming off of 3 UFC knockouts in a row is pretty funny to me.
You predicted the last one though. You did predict that one. We were on Phil Rowe.
We were, yeah, plus
We
money
were
versus
on Phil
Nico,
Rowe.
that was good. I mean, the
That
guys,
was great.
I think he's, I don't know what the market has a good idea about Rowe. But in this one, the way I'm thinking is that if Witt and Kasi were able to pin Rowe to the fence and take him down, I think
Woo!
Magny is likely to be able to do the same thing. What did I misspeak?
No, no, you spitting. Nah, you
Oh,
spitting. Go
okay.
ahead.
So if those guys were able to do it, I think it's likely Neil is able to do it as well. Those guys have a little bit more just like raw aggression and a little bit of wrestling than Magny does. But I just think that Rowe's going to play around on the outside. Both going to kind of stare at each other and throw kicks and punches that aren't going to land on each other, and then eventually they're going to tie up and it's going to go to the clinch. And I think that Magny is just so proven at somehow lulling guys into a clinch and winning decisions that way that I think that that's what I lean for to happen here is that Magny to win a unimpressive decision. Don't think it's any groundbreaking analysis. I just don't have a good read on this one, but I do have one bet on the fight, and that is Magny to win by sub in rounds 2 or 3 at plus 2,300 odds.
Mm,
And I just think that the Rowe collapsing here late is possible
mm.
because
Ooh.
the one thing I think is
How
Rowe's
much? 23 to 1? total.
23-1. Yeah, to get
Okay,
a sub
nice.
in either of the, because the two fights I mentioned, the Kasi and Witt, Rowe struggled early on in that one, and then he came back and knocked him out late. I actually think we might see Rowe have success here early on, land some punches on Magny, maybe even drop Magny, and then he might actually struggle with the cardio late like he does. It could look similar to the Magny and Max Griffin fight actually. So, um,
Okay.
what about you?
Yes, I mean, I got some thoughts on this one because seldom do you see a guy like Neil Magny, 37 fights overall, right? Going against a guy with 13 fights, right? And Neil Magny's got the record, right? What's the record? Like welterweight wins or some shit like that. Yeah, 16 decision wins. That's a fuck ton of UFC rounds that the guy's putting in. And he's against a guy in Phil Rowe, it's kind of similar to him, lanky guy, tall. Even beats them. Or no, they actually have the same reach. But lanky, tall, maybe has a little bit more punching power. Has some jujitsu as well. But the problem here, when you see this, is like the guys that this guy Roll has knocked out, right? Kasi and Jason Witt, right? Just two bums, right? Bad chins, not good fighters. And even in those fights, man, he was struggling, like you said, being held against the fence, and kind of just uncorked a few shots and the guys just went away, right? And that's not who Neil Magny is at all, really. If you see the times he's got finished, right? He's got submitted, it's been by literally the best guys in the division or guys that are known for like their jiu-jitsu and their control, right? Like Gilbert Burns, like Rafael Sunsao, even like his also Michael Chiesa, right, by decision. But Damian Maya choking his ass out. It ain't Phil Rowe, dude. And the thing with Phil Rowe is, yeah, I actually do think he could have some success here, but missed his weight, right? So he's missed weight a few times. So let's say he's looking to make weight this time, right, Martian? Let's say he's looking to make weight. So he's cutting the additional like 2.5 pounds, whatever it is. He's never won a fight by decision. And he's against a decision GOAT, bro. So it's really tough for me to say, hey, let me take Phil Rowe here. It's just very difficult to come down to that conclusion. Given that, like I said, it's tough to finish Magny. He has been rocked in a few of his fights, right? Like, Max Griffin, rocked him and clipped him. He probably should have lost that fight. We were on Max Griffin. But, he rocked him in that one. I think Taira-Rodrigues hit him with a few shots, obviously Shavkat. But these are really good fighters overall. I think that I like Neil Magny here. I just think he's gonna be able to wear on him on Phil Rowe. I just think he's improved so much from his UFC tenure, right? Improving his grappling, getting submissions, working his way up. So I think the price is still probably pretty good on Neil Magny, just because he's a fighter that is gonna build into the fight as well. Like he's not gonna let you down in that regard. Unless like Phil Rowe is some super saiyan dude and he just ready to he's lulling everybody to sleep and he's like just waiting to get a top 15 matchup to start whipping ass from bell to bell. But I don't think that's the case. I know people that train with Phil Rowe, they speak highly of him, they think he's cool and all that. But I think Neil Magny, dude, this looks like a matchup on paper, and I think it's gonna play out eventually. It's gonna look like a mismatch in the cage.
So you like him money line before the fight as well?
I do like him money line, yes.
I hope we get a live bet spot on this one because I don't quite love the money line past like -150, So I hope Rowe has an early moment we can get in on him. Um, something I wanted to
Decision
say.
go. Decision go.
Something I
For
wanted to
real.
say earlier is look out for the live bets on like these early moments in the round. Because, like, for instance, Jared Cannonier, he got hit with a few punches versus Marvin Vettori. He was plus 200 in round one. Like, these live lines, they overreact to early success. So, like, this seems like a good, like, a spot where Rowe
Okay.
might wobble him early and then Magny shoots up to like a huge dog. And you just know that Neil Magny is going to come back and make it close.
Right. Right. Marsha, how long are the rounds?
5 minutes.
5 fucking minutes. That's what I tell people.
And then one other point is Daniel Rodriguez. He got so people thought he got kind of robbed versus Dalby. They thought he got kind of lucky versus Jing Liang. He could have had an argument for being 8-0 in the UFC, and then Neil Magny beat him easily. Like he
Yeah, pretty
really
easy.
yeah. I mean he ran through Kevin Lee, Mike Perry, Preston Parsons. Like he was looking good, and then Neil Magny won and beat him decisively. So. And then it's just Neil Magny's kind of looked old lately, but this guy, he is longevity. He is the embodiment of longevity. I think,
Longevity personified is what you're looking for.
yeah, exactly. I think we're going to see a Magny decision. First,
If longevity had a Patronin like in Harry Potter, its Patronin would be Neil motherfucking Magny. For my Harry
um,
Potter people.
main card time, middleweight division time. We're back to the Premier Division. Brendan Allen taking on Bruno Silva. Two studs here. Brendan Allen
Mm,
minus 192 favorite. Bruno Silva plus 167. Brendan Allen coming off of a main event win, a finish in
yeah.
the main event. Remember
Yes.
that shit? Um,
Yes. We called that one. We had Brendan Allen there, I think. We had him
I
there.
bet the over. I don't remember if I bet. I don't
Mm,
think I bet
I
his
have
money line.
Brendan Allen.
But it's your turn to start this off from
Great.
for talking
Yes.
about this one. Let's hear it.
Great fight. I love this fight. I like this fight. They were gonna have Brendan Allen fight Jack Hermanson. I wasn't feeling that fight as much. I feel like Jack Hermanson deserves like like a different kind of fight than that. But anyway, talking about this one, yeah, I think Brendan Allen, man, he's actually doing a little bit better in the mixing up, in his game. Here, Bruno Silva's coming off that knockout over Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares, he's kind of just like right. That was his last fight. I'm not missing. He's just like a
Yeah.
little bit of a lunkhead. He doesn't mix up the martial arts very well. He kind of relies on his chin, his durability, just being able to be there. And he just didn't give and he doesn't kick. He doesn't do that much. He calf kicks sometimes. But he doesn't really give a lot of stuff for the opponent to worry about. Where I do think that Brendan Allen does a lot better. And you saw that in the Gerald Meerschaert fight, right, Martian? That Gerald Meerschaert gave this motherfucker a lot of shit to worry about. He was throwing those overhands. He was, working his jab, shooting takedowns, going for submissions eventually. And it was just like a much more, hectic fight. And I think that's where Brendan Allen really does excel at. I do think potentially if Brendan Allen is working too hard to get these takedowns, similarly to the Chris Curtis thing, like, stuff like that, he can't get clipped. He can't get caught. He can't be defensively irresponsible. So obviously he could get finished here. I think that's kind of priced in here. I think the upside here is on the Brendan Allen side, just because I do feel when that he will be able to find his way into takedowns here. And if not, use his kicks, use his improved striking, which I do think it has improved, to chip away at Bruno Silva, slow him down as he comes in, and strategically and tactically win this fight. Might not be an early finish, might take a little bit longer, but I do think eventually Brendan Allen pulls away in this fight. I don't mind him at the juice price either. I am taking a few favorites this week. I do have some action. It's not my favorite bet on the card, like I said. I do think I would like I actually like Neil Magny more than I like Brendan Allen. I think some people that might be flipped, but I'll probably bet them both equally and see where it gets me. I like Brendan Allen in this fight.
Yeah, I think Allen will get it done, and I just think that one takedown and Allen could potentially look like a massive, massive favorite here because on the feet, I actually think this has potential to be competitive. Bruno hits hard, but you kind of have to engage in a wild fight with him on the feet for him to have success. Like Brad Tavares, like Ozzy was saying, um, he doesn't really mix up the martial arts too well because he was just trading in the pocket, wild exchanges with Bruno Silva. And that's just a really bad recipe because that guy thrives on, chaotic, wild exchanges. And and Brad gave him that exact scenario. So I just don't think Brendan's going to do that same thing here. I think that if they're striking with one another and Silva does one of those, patented bull rush charges with a bunch of strikes, Brendan Allen's just going to shoot a takedown and he's going to hit it because Bruno Silva's takedown defense is no good. We've seen him taken down a lot regionally. Yeah, even our boy Wellington-Turman, we were just talking about, had Bruno Silva down and kept him down for minutes at a time. Gerald Meerschaert took him down. There must have been something wrong with Bruno Silva in that fight. He must have had the plague or something in that fight because all-time worst performance from him there. But you can't really totally disqualify that. Brendan Allen is kind of just a much more refined and functional version of our boy Gerald Meerschaert. So I think Brendan Allen is going to win this fight. I think really one takedown is potentially all he could need. The late round props for Brendan Allen aren't great. It's only plus 500, plus 900, which I don't think you can get too excited about because they're definitely wise to the fact that he's live for a late finish here. DraftKings has the decision only prop. You guys know about this one. Brendan Allen's only minus 175 in that market. I don't see how this fight gets to a decision and Bruno Silva can win it at a high rate at all. I think that would be some pretty fluke shit for him to win a
What's
decision.
Bruno by? What do you say it was him by decision?
So
What do you
it's
say?
decision only. So if the
Oh,
fight
decision
ends
only.
and it's Brendan Allen minus 175. So I just think
I
if it
see.
somehow goes the full 15, I think Brendan Allen's chances are a lot higher than 65% here. I think they're closer to like 80 to 85. So
Also, yeah,
yes.
yeah. Also, you see, I mean, you saw what Brendan Allen did when he fought a guy in Puna. You know, he kind of circled, he threw that body kick, and he didn't even really need takedowns to win that fight. Obviously, Bruno is way more berserker than Puna, but it just showed you like what he might do to try to shut down, you know, a guy on the power hand side. So I think Brendan Allen's got a lot of. I mean, both these guys got a lot of experience. But he's been impressive in his last few fights.
He is getting 10th UFC fight in 3 years for Allen here. I think he's steadily getting better, and I think this actually has potential to be a really easy matchup for him. So I like Allen here as well. That's going to move us along featherweight division. David Onama, Gabriel Santos, fun matchup here.
How
The
many
odds
more
have
fights do we have, dude? I
we
lost
got
track.
4. We got 4, but
Four.
one of
Okay.
them, the next one, we're not going to talk about for long because it's
Okay.
a one fight. But here we go. Santos favored minus 225. Onama plus 190 here. And, I think the odds are kind of right here. I do because Onama, the guy is a good athlete. He's very physical, but his skill level, I don't think, is very high. I think skill wise, Santos is much better. Very smooth southpaw operator. Like the way he strikes the guys on the feet, and he can hit takedowns as well. He came into Britain versus Leroy Murphy. Clearly won that fight, first and third round. I mean, I really don't understand how people think that Murphy won either of those rounds. You look at the data on MMA decisions, the media, they all had it for Santos there. I think it was probably one of the worst decisions all year. And but the market is still wise to Santos being a good fighter. I think that's something that's impressive here, guys. Is that even though he lost that decision, the market is still pricing him very respectfully here, minus 225. So I think that shows what kind of caliber fighter Santos is, and I think he's honestly the better striker and grappler than Onama here. The guy's cardio is good, and I think on a full camp, he's going to get to really showcase his skills here. But looking at the odds for this one, they have Santos submission at plus 225 or, some plus 250, which I think is way too low. I think it is because if you guys remember the Onama versus Mason Jones fight, Jones took Onama down, having all kinds of subs. And it's not like Jones is a great grappler, but Onama seemed to have really good resilience there. He kept battling back versus Nate Landwehr, even though he was in a bunch of spots. I just get the vibe that Onama is very difficult to finish. And they're pricing this fight like it's likely to finish, but I think that that's wrong. I think that the overs are pretty good in this spot. And the one I like the best is the fight to start round 3 at minus 124. Because I do think that it's possible Santos racks up enough accumulation to finish the fight in round 3. So I like fight to start round 3 minus 124. Also like Santos to win in round 3 or by decision at plus 155 on FanDuel. So I just think that this fight is going to go late. I think it's going to favor Santos. Could even be a Santos decision. So fun matchup here. What about you? You're muted here. Last thing I'll say though, before you come in to fill the dead air,
My bad.
Onama KO1 is plus 1100. I think that that's like the way he wins if he wins at all. I don't
Mm,
see him winning outside of round 1.
let's see.
So what do you got here?
Yeah, yeah, my bad. So you definitely like the over 1.5 if someone could get it here, that minus 180, 190 number. Interesting fight here. You know, I think Onama fights from both stances, but I think he's mostly a southpaw. I just like the punches that, Gabriel Santos chooses, right? Like kind of how he resets after he exchanges either with his, finishing with his hook or his cross. And I kind of like Onama by, or not Onama, Santos by knockout. I think you were talking about the submission, being priced too high. I just think Santos by knockout, just because Onama, his defense just doesn't look that great. And like you said, I think on the mat, I could see, maybe like a ground and pound thing, like if you got the mount or the back mount or something like that. But even on the feet, I just think, maybe kicks, punches, not sure, just call it a hunch. So I like him a little bit by knockout here. But I just think that Santos is a pretty high level prospect. Obviously, Onama is portrayed to be a high level prospect, but he really hasn't fought too many people that are great, and I think that Santos did get tested a little quite well in the Brazilian organizations like Jungle Fight. I think he was in an LFA and stuff. And his last fight, obviously, they started him off with Leron Murphy. Leron Murphy is definitely a pretty tough out, a long striker as well, similar to Onama. So I think that Gabriel Santos just in fight makes great decisions. So it looks like to have a pretty high fight IQ, and I think this guy's gonna be around for a long time, in this featherweight division, maybe eventually lightweight division. I'm not sure how old he is exactly. But I think it should be a good scrap, but put me down for Gabriel Santos by knockout.
That's at plus 500, and I saw our boy Scrap mention that Gabriel Santos KO or decision is plus money at plus 115. So you're kind of just
Interesting.
fading a
Mm,
submission there.
wow.
And then yeah, Santos had Murphy's back in that fight, but I don't think he was even like trying to finish him. I think the odds on sub here are way off. So I think that you're on to something with that KO. I think there's a better bang for your buck there. Next fight, heavyweight division, total bum fight here. Justin Tafa, Austin Lane. But I know it was my turn, but I just think Tafa is gonna probably destroy this guy. Lane's a bum grappler. Don't even think he's a good striker. So Tafa should probably just destroy this guy. But not gonna lay juice minus 177. Total pass here. Dog shit fight. What are you thinking?
I think this is kind of fight where tough. It's like a fight where a guy has his kind of like hands down, kind of like reaching out for one guy, and Tafa comes over the top with a right hook or a left hook, clips this guy in the chin. But it could go a multitude of ways. It's low level heavyweight, like you said, kind of immobile heavyweights as well. Although Lane, I think this Austin Lane guy was like a athlete or something like that.
Yeah,
College,
yeah,
I forget,
NFL.
right? Yeah, something like that. But he still he don't even move all that well. So don't have, this is a good fight to mix it up, in the middle of the main card, I guess. Not one that's gonna get my money here, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, enough said about that one. Moving right on to the co-main event, Amanda Hebos, Macy Barber, women's flyweight division. We have Hebos favored here minus, let's see, 205. Barber plus 175. Interesting fight here. Everyone loves Hebos. Everyone hates
Yeah.
Barber. Who you got in the co-main event?
Yeah, two popular girls, whether you love or hate, right? Popularity is, unrelated to that. So Macy Barber definitely is a popular girl. She's been around for a while. And she kind of robbed us in our last fight against Andrea Lee. That fight was kind of crazy. It didn't even make sense. But the girl's crafty and she's a fighter and she's a fucking tryhard. Okay. So, if she was like a 15-year-old boy, she would you'd be yelling at him in your Call of Duty lobby, so hard. But I can't knock her because she's trying to get the most out of her abilities. Obviously, she's nowhere close to being the youngest champion in UFC history. But here against Hebas, I think the benefits that she has is that Hebas, a lot of times she's in one mode or another. She's either looking to for sure take you down to set up the takedown, or she's for sure looking to jab you up, hit you with a few leg kicks and punches and stuff like that. Obviously her, she was supposed to fight what's her name? What's the girl that pulled out? Tracy Cortez, beforehand, and then came back in that Araujo fight. Looked pretty good, I think. I thought. Got going once she got going downhill. You could see how she mixes it up pretty well. How her timing is pretty good. How she is energetic and has 3 rounds of cardio. At the 125 weight class, and just overall look great. She's only lost one decision in her career, and that was against Caitlin Chukagian. So she's pretty reliable to be there for 3 rounds. In my opinion, some people talk about her chin, but man, this is women's MMA, man. It's really hard to really hit a girl, that hard and have her get off on you, easily like that. Where Hibas is potent. That's the thing. Like she's not really there to get hit that many times throughout the fight because you're gonna have to defend her, clipping you with shots like she did to Araujo, or going for the takedowns. And she's got the judo game as well. So I love Amanda Hebas. Like she's the best. I love her. So and I think she should whip Macy Barber's ass, but I just hate Macy Barber so much that I feel if I'm investing in it as well, it's just gonna send me down a bit like a black hole. And it's the co-main event as well. So I don't want to end my freaking, night off all that bad, even though I do have a bet on the main event. So I'm gonna try to wait and see if I could get decide on a prop here, or maybe get a better line on Amanda, or again the live bet. I feel like I live bet women's fights very often, even if it's just taking one girl at big plus money. But I feel that she should be able to jab this girl up, launch some leg kicks and stuff like that. I just hope that she does not end up on her back. But she is active. I don't care. Amanda Hebos is winning this fucking fight. That's all I gotta say. Kick it over to you, Martian. Go ahead.
Yeah, she really should. I mean, we did get pretty unlucky with Lee there. I guess there's a case for Barber winning that fight, but it also seemed so much easier for Lee to win like 30-27 than it is for Barber. So that and she didn't she close like minus like 900 or something. That was fucking sick. I remember that shit. But I think Ribas is probably a better wrestler and grappler than Andrea Lee, right? I mean, and Lee got easy takedowns and easy top position on Barber.
She's definitely a better grappler and wrestler for
Yeah,
sure. Easily.
I mean, Lee's good, but I think Ribas is much better as a grappler. So if Lee was able to just get free takedowns and top time here, I mean Ribas should as well. I really think that it's as simple as that. So I think that the line is pretty justified here. The only way I could see Barber winning is if he boss for some reason gasses out, and maybe the second half of the fight favors Barber. Barber does have good cardio. She can go the full 15 at a pretty hard pace, and she does just have a kind of a mythical way of winning decisions. Now 2 times in a row versus Maverick, and now versus Lee, that she got lucky winning decisions there. But I'm seeing people talk about a same game parlay for this one. You can do Amanda Hebos total to get a takedown in round one at minus 130. And then you can couple that with some other shit. So look at the same game parlays for this one. I think you might be able to concoct yourself an easy winner there. I mean, Amanda, you would say that Amanda to get a takedown in the first round is more likely than 56%, right, Ozzy?
Dude, I
And
don't know, bro. I'm
I know
not a bot.
you hate questions like this, but bro,
I'm
you
not a
got
bot, dude.
these are money making opportunities.
No, dude, you don't, because you don't know what their game plan is. I don't
Bro,
know. The
come
fuck,
on,
I
bro.
don't.
You think
No.
Rebus is not gonna look to hit a takedown in the first round here?
Dude, but the thing is, the problem is, Martian, fucking Macy could throw a kick and just fall the fuck down. And you're like, oh no, fuck.
She could. I
She
don't know.
easily could, dude. Easily could.
I like that. I like it. Let me what about the total
And
takedowns
the other thing is, the other thing too, Amanda Hebas does go for those dumbass. I mean, they worked on Caitlin Chukagian, but those head and arm throws, and that easily could turn into her being on her back. So no, I don't want to fuck with that, dude.
That's a
What
take
the
that's a
fuck?
take that's a no,
No,
bro.
but I'm saying if she takes her down and then doesn't solidify the position, and then this girl comes out the back door, which happened with, didn't that happen with KGB? That's how KGB got caught with their head between her legs, and her head punched in. You don't remember?
No, I was too traumatized to rewatch that fight this week.
But basically, I'm saying what I don't really fuck with that. Do you 56% to land a fucking takedown, dude? Give me a
Nah,
break.
I'm telling you. All right, the parlay is Ribas to get a takedown in round one, and the fight to go over 2.5 minutes at minus 120. I did see some guy mention this on Twitter. No idea who this guy
You got to
is,
pay juice for that? Hell
bro. It's
no!
gonna fucking win, bro. It's gonna win.
Hell no! Hell no!
When you really think about it,
Hell
Ozzy,
no!
you
I'm
have to
not paying
say that
juice on a
Ribas.
fucking same game parlay
Okay, then
that
I'll
relies on
make
a
it.
woman to get a fucking takedown,
But it's one of the most reliable women. One of the most
not to get to.
reliable women.
You would define Amanda Hebas as reliable?
Reliable to attempt a takedown.
No, she needs to complete the takedown. She does not need to attempt the
She's gonna hit
takedown.
it, bro. Barber sucks at wrestling.
All
That's a
right,
win.
dude.
That's a winner. That's a winner, guys. Same game parlay winner. And that's gonna move us along to main event. Ilia Topuria's first main event, featherweight division, taking on the veteran Josh Emmett. The odds have this one as Topuria as a massive favorite, minus 350. Josh Emmett plus 285. I believe this is 78% for Ilia Topuria here. I don't know what's that about, but I'll let you start this one off.
Yeah, interesting fight come together that came together here. Ilya, obviously he looked great. He steamrolled Bryce Mitchell. Absolutely dominated that fight. But let me take that back. He did get taken down, I think, once or twice, end up on his back there. But other than that, the guy looked good in that fight. He's throwing power shots. He was not scared of Bryce Mitchell, what Bryce Mitchell had coming back at him at all. But now he's fighting a freaking killer, a Tasmanian devil, alpha male, if you will, in Josh Emmett. And Josh Emmett, he's real familiar with fighting these little short chipmunk motherfuckers that want to just throw heat and throw overhands and exchange hooks, and get in there and make it a scrap. So Josh Emmett will not be shying away from this fight here. And I think he likes this fight as a bounce back situation because he sees a guy in Ilia Topuria who's very confident, has not really fought many guys who have good cardio, have good durability, have punching power, and have some defensive wrestling as well. And just coming off two 5-round camps. Obviously, the last fight didn't go 5 rounds, but looked good in that indicator fight. I thought, even though some people didn't think he won that fight, whatever. He went 5 rounds. They were scrapping. It was a fight, and he edged one of the rounds. So Crimea River. So I really like Josh Emmett here, honestly, just because if they're just striking, man, you saw what like how he looked. Like I said, in even the Yair fight, like or let's think of the EA fight and the Cater fight. Josh Emmett moves pretty well on the outside. He's actually pretty slick with his boxing. He takes pretty good angles. He rolls with some punches from time to time. You saw that in the Cater fight, how he was able to avoid a lot of Cater strikes, here and there. And Cater has got one of the best jabs in the business. But against Yair, he didn't know what range he should have been fighting in because Yair was throwing these crazy ass kicks, hard and fast, and it's like he can't be outside taking the kicks, but he also couldn't close distance on him. And even then he did actually have some success there. He landed some good shots. His ground and pound in that fight was nasty. Yair's a tough bastard because he took a lot of those huge elbows and huge punches that this dude Emmett was throwing. And I mean, he got caught in that triangle, which is kind of bad to think about. But when the hell do you see Ilia Topuria on his back? Only against Bryce Mitchell. And he kind of was not, I'm not saying he was a fish there, but he's not no Yair-Rodrigues, dude. He's not fucking catching, Josh Emmett in a triangle. And if he does, Josh Emmett should leave his gloves in Jacksonville. So I don't think that's gonna happen. So I could just see these guys exchanging. Josh Emmett, he's got his hands up. He keeps his defense pretty tight. He can actually jab as well. He does a great switch stance, hitting like TJ a la like TJ Dillashaw and stuff like that. And he hits fucking hard. He probably hits harder than Ilia Topuria. So, give me Josh Emmett all day here, dude, at plus 300. Like, unless this guy Topuria, which I did see in his vlogs, he's got some good vlogs coming out. He was working his wrestling at Kill Cliff, getting some good takedowns and stuff like that. It was looking pretty good. But I'm just not convinced that he could do that consistently against a guy like Josh Emmett and then, choke his ass out. So I'm gonna, start my fade Ilia Topuria thing here with a plus 300, 290, whatever it is. I got 295 on Josh Emmett, and let's see, let's see what happens here. But should be a good fight, should be a banger. Hopefully, Ilia Topuria is looking up at the lights at the end.
Yeah, so I was rewatching some of these most recent fights of these guys, and Topuria versus Mitchell. I think that's obviously Topuria's best win so far, the highest level opponent that he's fought, and I think he won that fight very clearly. He definitely covered his minus 150 price tag and then some. But I think that fight was just sloppy and sketchy enough to where I still have some pretty major questions about Topuria. So when he did get taken down at the end of round one there, he did lay on his back for a minute straight. Maybe he knew he had the round banked, but still, just 1 minute straight of just completely flat on his back versus Mitchell there. The second round, Mitchell was having a little bit of success hitting Topuria there. It just seems like Topuria is a very aggressive fighter, and he charges at his opponents. He throws reckless combinations at them, and a lot of the times it works because he seems durable. He's very fast. He hits extremely hard. But, I don't think the guy's like a defensive savant or anything. I don't think he's winning fights in a very risk adverse fashion. I think he actually embraces the risk in some of these fights, and I think that that's just a really dangerous strategy against Josh Emmett, who is a guy who hits extremely hard, who's extremely durable of his own right, and has fought and beaten the much better competition. Undoubtedly, guys, I think if we compare Ilia Topuria's best win of Bryce Mitchell to some of Josh Emmett's recent win. I mean, 6 wins in a row, I think, could all qualify as better wins with Ricardo Lamas, Michael Johnson, Mirsad Bektic, Burgos, Ige, and Cater. No doubt that Burgos, Ige, and Cater are better than Emmett, or better than Mitchell. And I think there's a good chance, excuse me, that Bektic and Lamas are better than Mitchell as well. So I just think that this price is crazy when you think about it. Over 75% for Topuria to win this one. And if we're thinking about how Topuria is most likely to win, if it's striking, right, guys, Calvin Kattar is a great striker. Dan Ige is a great striker. Burgos are great strikers. Those guys didn't come close to looking minus 300 over Josh Emmett. And if you're talking about grapplers, he's also fought great grapplers like Lamas and Bektic. And Ige is a good grappler of his own right. And those guys aren't getting easy takedowns. Emmett has a wrestling background of his own. I don't think that Topuria is going to get easy takedowns here. I don't think he's going to have an easy time outboxing him here. And like Ozzy was saying about the Yair fight, Yair, a uniquely difficult opponent for Emmett because he's very long, he's very in and out. He used his kicks to enter in the pocket very successfully there. But Topuria doesn't do that, man. He is, he's kind of a shorter reach fighter, so he's very comfortable boxing. He's very comfortable boxing in the pocket, and I just think that he's going to give Josh Emmett his ideal conditions, and that's going to be for these guys to swing at each other's chins and exchange shots in the pocket here. And I think Josh Emmett is very live to win that type of fight. So I think that the price of plus 285 is crazy on Emmett. I think the only way that Emmett looks that bad is just if he's completely done. I mean, we did see him look I would say one of his worst performances against Yair. There was some rumors about injuries going into that fight, but the fact that he's taken another main event just 4 or 5 months after that fight shows that I don't think there's probably any injury there. And he was just in a 5-round war against Calvin Kattar 1 year ago to the day,
That was
and
a great point. That was a great point. Sorry.
and he won that fight, guys. I mean, I thought Calvin Kattar deserved that decision, but you got to say to yourself, if Calvin Kattar, a proven great boxer, great 5-round fighter, if Josh Emmett was able to keep it close enough with him to steal a split decision there, how the hell is he a near 3-1 underdog against Topuria, who we've seen in the UFC? He's fought in the round 3 one time, and it was widely agreed upon that he was gassed out in that round 3. You'll hear people say that was short notice versus law. You'll hear people say that he had the flu in that fight, but that doesn't change the fact that the only time we've seen him in round 3, he was gassed out versus Youssef Zalal, who is, I would say an average fighter at best. So I think this line has way too many assumptions about Topuria. I think the guy is a good, fun, promising prospect, but I just think that minus 350 is way out of control here. So happy to have a bet on Emmett here. I have a lot of action on this card. I'm really looking forward to some of these fights. I think it's a pretty good fight night, top to bottom. I think, we got Taira as the second fight, Emmers versus Jenkins as the third fight. Trevor Peek's going to be entertaining. Some good women's fights in Ricci-Robertson and Ribas-Barber. Excited to see Brendan Allen in action. So really good card, top to bottom here. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this bitch up, Ozzy?
No, not really. But we're in week what, like 4 now of 13 weeks in a row. So we're gonna keep firing away. So let's do this.
I like the sound of that. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for enjoying the podcast this week. Make sure you check out the list of the worst UFC fighters of the past 3 years. Got everyone talking on Twitter about that one lately. That's just the type of role I am as the most polarizing figure on MMA Twitter. But yeah, that's enough about this one. We will see you all before the next UFC event next week. Hope you all enjoy the fights, win some bets, and we'll see you all next week. Peace out, everyone.